Welcome to the conclave. We are honored to have Mr. Shiduzi Sir, an award-winning AI software engineer and founder of Talent Hack, recognized for building human-centered AI solutions and empowering global tech talent through innovation, mentorship, and AI-driven communities. We are also privileged to have Layak Singh Sir, a visionary entrepreneur, AI leader who is transforming the tech and health tech industries through intelligent automation and next generation AI powered solutions. Joining us is Mr. Arindam Mukherjee Sir, a distinguished technology product leader known for driving innovation in enterprise AI, scalable SaaS platforms, and digital transformation initiatives. We warmly welcome Gauri Shankar Jha sir, an accomplished business and technology leader with deep expertise in enterprise innovation, operational excellence, strategic growth through technology-driven transformations. It is a pleasure to host Rajeshwaran sir, an experienced enterprise technology leader recognized for aligning digital innovation with business strategy and enabling organizations to scale through impactful technology solutions. We are delighted to welcome Abhishek Chopde sir, a passionate entrepreneur and AI strategist dedicated to building scalable digital products and fostering innovation through emerging technologies and startup ecosystems. And finally, we would like to extend a welcome to Anshuman Bhattacharya sir, our moderator for today's session. With his strong background in technology innovation, digital transformation, and strategic leadership, we are confident that we will guide this conclave into engaging conversations, meaningful insights, and impactful discussions. At this point, I would like to formally hand over the session to lead us through today's conclave. Thank you all, and we wish everyone an inspiring and productive session ahead. Thank you, everyone.
I think you are on mute.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. And thank you for joining us today, taking time out from your Saturday afternoon. I hope we will be able to provide you with very good insights with our esteemed speakers panelists today. I'll be hosting this and I'll be helping navigate this today's session on data science 2030, what lies ahead. Today's world or today's time, probably the most opportune time to ask this question, like where the data science is heading. Data science, modeling, analytics, AI, whatever name you call it, where is this heading? Is probably we are at the greatest juncture of the time. In one hand, we have the traditional methods and technologies through which we have been solving problems, building models and deploying and running them. On the other hand, over the last couple of years, we have seen the advent of multiple AI agents which are taking some of the tasks of the models and running the complete workflow till the decision making or even beyond. And there are also, we have seen that very specialized AI coding agents that have come up, like the Claude or Google Anti-Gravity or Cursor or the Copilot of GitHub. These are also providing us certain ways of or helping us developing much faster the algorithms or models we want to build. And also we have seen in the last 3+ years that the proliferation of the generative AI LLM based models, which have made many of the previously unsolved problems much of a reality. We are not restricted only to the numeric or structured data. We are now able to analyze textual, audio, video, images, all kind of data and infer from there. So this is where this juncture has been created lately, and all as our professionals, all of us today who are professionals, like someone starting our career and someone has spent some number of years in this. This is a very relevant topic of discussion today, where the data science is heading. So we expect that we have 6 panelists today. We have certain questions for them, which are more likely a placeholder so that they can speak on a particular topic openly also. the way we have structured this today, that we will have two rounds of questions to each, and then we will go for the one round of rapid fire question where 3 or 4 questions would be asked to the panelists, and they will give us quick answers to that. After that, we'll open this for the question answer session for the participants. But what you can do in the meantime, that if you are facing any question, or you just simply can type that in the chat and we'll keep a note of that. Okay, so let me start the question hour session. Just a second, I'm pulling up my notes. So we will start with Chidoji, who have joined us from the UK, uh, our overseas panelist guest today. And my question to Chidoji is that we see that our day job as a data scientist is evolving, and maybe by 2030, with the advancement of the AI coding or auto modeling, auto machine learning, auto ML kind of sophisticated packages, maybe the lot of heavy lifting we do today using Python and the model tuning, which is more of an human expertise that we employ. What the primary value of a data scientist will be in next 2 to 5 years time? Would that be shifting from writing code to a more sophisticated work, or defining the problem space or the system architecture? How do you see our job of a data scientist is evolving? If you can add some words to that.
Okay. Hi everyone. Good morning. Am I audible? So yeah. Hi everyone. Good morning. My name is Chi. So that's a very interesting question because, as you can see, based on what our host has said today already, you can see that LLMs themselves are beginning to take over a lot of the conventional roles as we know them, especially around things like data science, data analytics, and whatnot. So my short answer would be 100% yes. So in my head, I generally feel that by 2030, writing generic boilerplate Python code or spending days, doing all of this hyperparameter tuning would basically be done by a lot of these AI agents, right? So as you can see, AI agents now are able to do many of these tasks in seconds. So the real value of a data scientist by that time will basically be shifting from more of syntax to a much more strategy role, where we are now moving from how do I write code to entirely focusing on what is the problem that we're trying to solve here, and then how do we make sure that agents are able to meet up with the requirements and give us the desired solution. Next, I think my next point would be around more like the shift in bottlenecks. So maybe let's think about it this way. So when a code generation becomes free and instant, like as you can see these days, LLMs, so more the bottleneck in the business is no longer how fast can you type or how fast can you create code or write code. The new bottleneck now becomes more, as a practitioner, more or less, your job would basically be more around um won't be more around building the engine from scratch. It should be more around like acting as a system architect. So who designs the entire systems, who connects different components of the AI agents, LLM architecture, how does the data flow from one point to another, especially when you're looking at things like maybe utilizing multiple agents in a particular scenario. So all of this will basically be more of the future of a data scientist, in my own opinion, because you're moving a lot more from doing those manual processes to much more thinking about how the systems, in this case, work with themselves, connect with themselves, exchange data. Because we're going to move definitely by 2030, we'll see a lot more progress from what we're seeing now. So probably in the next 4 years, agents will be able to do much, much, much more than this now. So generally, it's going to be much more around like architecturing and streamlining the systems to make sure that they work with real world applications. Thank you. I think you're muted. I think you're muted.
Sorry, great insights. I really like the way you have described how the AI agents would be helping us in building the solutions. I would go to my next panelist, who is Rajeshwaran, and the question maybe are somehow related to the previous one, uh, but probably is more technical the way I see it. is that so Rajesharan, how do you see the new stack? Like we are currently using notebooks and AI engineering, full stack AI engineering, which is mostly a Python based skills. Uh, but how do you see that when my Python skills or the heavy lifting are done by the AI agents, what are the other non-data skills you believe that it could be a cloud architecture, product management, domain expertise that will define the or differentiate the specialists or the experts from the others, say by next 3-4 years time? What is your view on that?
Yeah, yeah. So
Even
mainly what's going to happen is we are going to see more and more of the code that is getting written by AI. Even today, already 40-50% of the commits in GitHub is being done by AI, and this is going to only increase as the AI gets more and more powerful. You're going to be having agents that can actually write code for you. That is not going to be the issue. The issue is going to be the business architecture in terms of how do you define a business outcome. Okay, I'll take a simple task that if I have invoices and it's getting manually processed and I have 5 people doing it, I bring in some AI and I get 90% accuracy on the invoices. It does not mean I'm able to lay off even one person simply because somebody has to verify everything that the AI has done. So what invariably you are reading a lot of use cases where case studies where people are saying AI is not giving the productivity that it is supposed to give. It's not able to allow me to cut the cost. So what you're going to see is that you're going to get a business architecture concept where you are able to understand the underlying financial impact of the AI and then try to find out how you can use AI to automate that. So it's not just about cloud engineering, it's not about the technical thing. It's about being able to understand the underlying business. That is going to be the most key skill. And then finding out how you can generate value for that because coding is going to be cheap. Okay, you're going to get anything done, but it's not going to translate into business. That is one skill. The second thing that you're going to see quite often is AI is consume tokens, and tokens are directly related to cost. How do you optimize and find out, evaluate which model can do what? Okay, you may be surprised to know that there are about 10,000 models, large language models with fine tuning, that are created a month. Every month, 10,000 new models come into the AI space. So, finding out which one will actually do the work, just not going by some evaluations and things like that, and being able to select the model, being able to give the right solution, understanding the underlying technology stack is going to be the key differentiator as we move forward. You're on mute again.
Sorry. Thank you, Rajesharan. It's a great insights. I really like the idea you have possessed that the business architecture. This is a very important part because I know after spending about 2 decades in this field, I have learned that the value of a model, the business value of a model, the ROI of a model is ultimately decides whether the model will be in production or will be live in the business ecosystem. It's seldom the only the quality or accuracy or the novelty of the model that makes the cart for a long term ideation or long term business value of that. So this is a great takeaway that not only a programmer, coder, or a statistician, modeler, you have to understand or build the real ROI and present and you know emphasize on the ROI of the model to the business so that your model is actually into production. That's a great insight. I'm sure everybody will take a note of that. And the other thing he has very rightly mentioned is that the cost of tokens, they are only going up. So the modelers, developers, engineers who can optimize the cost, minimize the cost of token, and still get the work done will be of a serious value in the market. Thank you, Reshwar. Uh, Let me now go to my next person, Orindam Mukherjee, who has been into this field and a hardcore engineer, developer, modeler. Uh, And in yesterday's discussion, we have identified one area that everybody is really talking about, generative AI or the agents. But a majority of the model, even today, and I'm sure down the line, will use the traditional numeric models. So, Arindam, how do you see this transition is going? Uh,
Mhm.
and how
Sure.
you see that the value of the traditional model or how they coexist? I mean, let me put it this way: how these two would coexist in the future? What's your view on that?
Sure. Thanks, Anshuman. Great meeting you all today. So it's a very valid question, and I face this question a lot when I talk to my team and through the processes that exist. So today, right, I mean, whenever we think about any problem we are trying to solve, we straight away try to go into agentic AI because we have a lot of tools, capabilities, skills, available models. But sometimes I've seen this, and I make ensure my team also. I tell this like figure out what is needed to solve a problem statement rather than we have these sort of licenses to let's start using them. So it's very important for people who are coming through the ranks, firstly, to have the view of how this transformer based modeling through LLM to this agentic AI world has evolved. So you have to come through the ranks, you have to understand what, like the foundational capabilities are very important. And so if I want to answer this question, so traditional data science concepts still are very important because, and to add to the discussion that you're doing previously, a lot of when we try to spin up agents nowadays, like agentic AI concepts, we use these agents, and a lot of tokens are used or burnt up, and we try to build these systems real time. But we have to figure out, right? I mean, this cannot keep on incrementally growing, right? How do we manage the tokens? How do we ensure that we only use agentic AI or these models for the purpose of when it is needed? So that line has to be drawn very carefully going forward, because nowadays we try to bootstrap a lot of things from scratch, and definitely agentic AI LLMs are great in doing that. But we have to also have that vision about like how we can actually save the cost and use some traditional systems, algorithms, models where it is needed and where we don't need to burn up our tokens. So that is one. And also, I would like to add one more point here is on the security and the management of these agents. So it is very important that whenever we're spinning up agents, when we are using agents to solve use cases, we figure out how do we make it secure and ensure security. So uh, I think a couple of years back, fine tuning was our go-to for any problem statement, right? We didn't not were aware so much about the agentic capabilities or the multi-agent capabilities. So that was still we could host in-house, and then we could fine tune SLMs, LLMs, anything. But nowadays, we have these models. We try to have tools, and these agents interact with each other. So if you're trying to build applications, products for secure systems, right? How do you have control over them? How do you have build trust and validation to your stakeholders? So that is also important, and there we have to figure out what sort of use cases you can solve through traditional machine learning systems versus agentic AI. So it's a combination of both. I think they definitely will coexist. Right now, we are in the world where we are bootstrapping things very fast, and to show value, definitely this the agentic AI mechanisms we use are of great value today. But when things stabilize, right, whenever you have a product or an application that is used by millions of users, then you have to really figure out which aspects of your existing architecture can be done through traditional systems, maybe a statistical modeling, maybe things like BERT and all the models that we had used previously, right? So that is the line that we need to draw. But yeah, I mean, for now, this is the what we do nowadays. Like we build agents, multi-agent frameworks. But once things are in production, once things are used by millions of users, you need to really figure out those pieces in your architecture and take it out and try to save costs. So that's what I feel about the coexistence as of today. Yeah.
Great. This is really reassuring for people like us who built their careers from the early 2000s on building traditional machine learning and statistical and econometric models. And is happy to note that you also see the same way that they will coexist. That tells that the value of a core disciplinary knowledge of computer science or statistics or econometrics will still be relevant, and understanding those models, how they work, how they interact with the data, this will also be highly relevant uh,
Yeah.
in the course of time. So I'll again suggest everyone to make a note of this. The life is not only about calling an agent and asking it to solve the problem, but also use the established traditional methods to get the problem solved in the right manner, and many of the time at a very lesser cost, because these traditional models are all free. They does not need any tokens or anything. So that's another benefit these traditional models provide. And thanks, Orindam. This is a
Thanks.
great insights. I will move to my next panelist, who is Gauri Shankar Jha, and we fondly call him GS. Uh, and again, taking a cue from the previous discussion only, the coexistence of the traditional machine learning models versus the agentic Gen AI models. Uh, and he has spent a huge number of years in solving many AI problems across industries. So my question to him is that, GS, how do you see this transition? How the life was of a AI scientist, uh, maybe 1 decade, 1.5 decade ago? How do you see the landscape then, and what do you see the landscape is changing now? How it is changing?
Uh, sure, Anshuman. Thanks for this. First of all, I would like to thank the Eduinx for organizing this kind of wonderful session. I think we all know this is very relevant topic for all of us. And when you look at this, and I would also like to thank the panelists as well as the moderator Anshu and the audiences here. Before I hop on into this question, I would like to briefly introduce myself. I am GS Jha. I am the AI product manager working in KPMG, and with around 18 years of experience in the AI data engineering and a product management side, I have seen the multiple global digital transformation programs, and so that's a good for me because whatever I'm coming here, that will be based on my own experiences, and of course happy to really share my insights as well as learn from my fellow colleagues. So now coming to the question that is here, I think the most important thing here before we go into what will happen in the next 3 5 years, to understand a kind of a very chronological order how data science has evolved in the last few decades, 2 decades especially. One point is that data science initially was focused on what was done in the past. So like you get a cue from there, and that's like something that you can use it. Then it evolved further into what will happen in the future. That's where also the models were there. But those times, like mostly structured data was what utilized. Then we came into the kind of Gen AI, which is like what should we do? That's more advisory. And now we are seeing a trend agentic multi-agent systems which say what should be done. So what should be done is one way, and then how we automate it. So that's like a kind of navigation which is evolving, of course, and every technological landscape domain has evolved over the period of time. But only challenge, the pace of the evolvement I think is very quick now. So that's one part. And coming to the what will happen in 3 5 years, I think that also is a reflection of what happened in the past. So one thing is there that a few of the trends are very noteworthy and very clear now, that the explosion of data we can see, the multimodal data is available. That also means that you will have much more data than what you had in the past. But on top of that, the power to compute and analyze and get an insight from data is also now huge. You have the quantum computing coming up. So these data can't sit in the silos. That's a very big stuff actually. That means the real-time integration of the ERP systems, which actually are I can foresee that is happening in the future. You will have a lot of insights which is coming up, and these are real-time insights. You have to work on that. So we all talked about how the agentic AI came into the picture. So again, when you have all these, you are not only getting insight, you're pushing for further more. And what we are trying to do now is to get insight out of it. But then all of it comes, human and AI to collaboration. Because obviously we saw for data sciences, what happened, they used to work with their own intention, capabilities, or what they have learned. But now it's more about, you don't write the Python code manually. More work would be that how do you review the code? Can you debug the stuff quickly? And then that brings efficiency in terms of speed, in terms of quality. Cost is, of course, a point we are still deliberating. And then on top of it, AI governance becomes very, very critical, I would say, very critical for every arena. Because when you have lot of, given a lot of freedom, autonomy for these agents, you need to make sure that some portions, those capabilities still remain with human. We are able to control it. In terms of data science, what I see is that, while the data science skill will remain relevant, there is absolutely no question on that. But industry and domain skills can become more and more important, and prompt engineering can really be a very, very good thing to cover, because you have multiple tools there. How do you able to leverage on those tools is something critical that will decide. So overall, if you see the how it will evolve, with a lot of data, multimodal data, a very strong computation capabilities. But the few areas which will benefit specifically is now you can have the vertical AI models. For example, healthcare, like you drug discovery, the cancer treatments, or cryptography, or even the financial services. You can have the vertical models which will be very, very fine-tuned on the data, because you have a lot of data, we have the processing capacity, we can get the results which we have not been able to. So that's a change possibly that can come in the long run. So overall, this looks like an evolving scenario. A lot of changes will happen. Obviously, all the components in the system will have a kind of positive and somehow different impacts also, which is not. But as of now, I see that this is heading into that direction. So that's all I have for this particular aspect. Happy to add more on if that is like there is a specific focus on it.
No, GS, great insights. This really shows the length of breadth of the experience you have. And also, I would suggest everyone to make these notes of GS has mentioned, especially on the verticalized AI, verticalized business, verticalized models, the prompt engineering, how these, and the governance aspect that he has built in his discussion, that it's not only building the model, but how the model is performing, how the model is being transparent, is being fair, is being unbiased towards the certain populations. These all would be very important dimensions of the overall model building. So thanks, Jace. This is a great insight. We'll come back to you. But before that, let me move to my next person, Abhishek Chopre. And for Abhishek, my question to you is more towards the how do you see the job market and the career longevity? How our careers will take shape and over the period across the decades that lying ahead before many of us here. So, how do you see specialization versus generalization? Do you see more generalist data scientists coming up who would be kind of jack of all trades, or you see that it would be more of specialized tracks like uh, someone specializing in AI ops, someone in data strategy, other persons are interface or customer interaction design. How do you see, or is it that because everything else today, as we already have discussed, that being driven by multiple tools, multiple intelligent tools, would we all be super generalists? That is, we are generalist as well as specialist in certain areas, and kind of one person delivers everything. Is this something you visualize in the coming days, or what's your perspective?
Sure. Uh, Thank you for that question. And I think before we dive into answering that, we need to establish a few terms related in that question. One is that I think how does the career longevity evolve, and I don't think this is a great time to say that what does 5 year down the line or 10 year down the line look like. It is moving at such a fast pace and it is evolving very rapidly. So we are in a unique position where a lot
Absolutely
of
true.
these things are changing at a very rapid rate. So, but at least foreseeable future, what direction it is taking, a little bit of commentary on that would be possible. And in that, I think a few things that we should keep in mind is that when we talk about specialization, generalization, typically we saw this phase shift when software evolved from, like, initially we used to have very specialized software development. There used to be like data engineers, then back-end engineers, then front-end engineers. Then a lot of even our previous generation tools became very smart, and the technologies themselves became pervasive. So like Node.js and all of these things changed the way we actually design software entirely, right? So which meant that there was an emergence of something like a full stack developer who who could envision everything from back end to front end, and everything was connected because the stack was that way. But does that mean that we don't have database engineers anymore? That's not true. Their importance is even more so, because then the database design now can do a lot more, because this new stack allows us to maintain security in database, maintain vectors in database. So the very different kind of databases emerged, and the role kind of shifted in that direction. So that's one way to look at it, right? That whenever a general purpose technology like AI comes into foray, a lot of things will change. The way we look at the paradigms of specialization today, that itself will change significantly. My idea is that I think it becomes more and more important, and it goes back to what Raj, Arindam were saying, that uh, we need to understand where what we do applies. Okay. And one example, continuing what GS was saying right now, that a lot of automation will happen using agents, but then there is also this concept of agents driving model intelligence in a way, selecting data, making sure that it is trained, making sure that whenever it is stale, it automatically triggers the training, and also keeps tab on, like, how good the model is performing, is there any drift, deviation, all of that. So what that essentially tells you is that previously one could be focused on just building that first set of model, but now they also have to think about, okay, if a agent has to interact with this model, what how does my design of this model change? And that kind of paradigm, I think, is coming up very quickly. That is something that we work a lot in my line of business. So at an enterprise level, how do we separate tasks that require scale, precision, accuracy, and run them on traditional pipelines, but then also have a pipeline of wherever at scale we find some alerts or some deviations from the model, how can we send them through a intelligent generative AI pipeline so that we improve the quality of outputs overall. So I think it's going to be a crisscross of this new mesh of technologies that actually is going to be very valuable to businesses. So we are looking at people who are great at understanding their own ML setup, uh, uh, and obviously within their ML setup, they but their horizon has to be broader. They need to understand how rest of your architecture is playing a role into it. You need to understand whether you are building a production level system, or are you building a development environment system. Are you building a backend service, are you building a routine job? Depending on that, a lot of the infrastructure that is going to be there is going to shift significantly. And in order to support all of that, I feel the way your career is going to shift, what becomes really important is having that generalized lens of what kind of technologies interact with your current work. Because within this, Anshuman also asked some specifics, right? What happens to ML ops and things like that. Now, let's think about ML ops for a moment. ML ops traditionally is a very solved problem, right? You can have a script written that always does that very reliably, automatically. But is the job only about the managing the operations? It is not. It is a lot more about accountability, making sure that compliance, governance, all these aspects are met. It is about making sure that verification and validation is done at proper point of time, and that his skill, I think, will still remain human. In terms of like what can be automated, that I think we know how to automate that for a long time now. So that part is not changing. That is just becoming more faster, more quicker, more easier to integrate.
Mm-hmm.
What
Right.
is significantly changing is the way we look at this.
No, of course, great perspective. And we'll come back to you. We'll hear more from you. But before that, let me move to my next panelist, the last panelist, Layak. Layak, I have kept him in the last because Layak is, unlike many others, Layak is an entrepreneur and he has built businesses using data science and AI. So he would bring in a different perspectives than others. So my first question to Layak is that you have built businesses, been an entrepreneur. Now, what would be your guidance? So if some of us over here wants to take up the route of a startup or an entrepreneur and want to build something using data science or AI, what would be your first set of guidance to him or her?
Thank you, Anshuman, and thank you, everyone. So basically, definitely this is a very interesting time, though, where we are living into. I primarily recall it in a way that it is a pre-2025 or post-2025 era, that the way that things have been changing, the way that we used to build tech, the way that we used to build the operations, the way that we used to build the team as well. I think the post-2025, there is a significant change, actually, the way that you look at. But it is basically in a both side of the positive and negative. I would say more positive, that I will say, because it is giving an opportunity to all of us, to anyone who understand the tech, who doesn't understand the tech, both the side, to build something they're interested into, something they basically understand the problem, something they basically want to see it live, actually, which was not a case earlier, because it has a kind of like a typical dependency on the tech, that somebody does not understand the tech, somebody does not understand the kind of like the something is not built, or maybe the kind of like MVP or pilot. But at least this stage, what I see is that you're actually able to see and live what you have in mind, actually, to see in front of you. So this definitely is a interesting time that we see around that. However, what is basically changing over here is that, like, obviously there is a one part which is coming out, that everybody, when I think 2 years back, 1 year back, when chat GPT things started in the mainstream, people started building on top of that, actually, without realizing that how exactly this will impact in the future. So the rappers part, and building certain kind of like even the kind of like speech, or maybe the kind of models building into the areas of data or anything around that. I think so. The challenge is that, like, if you just starting building what is already existing and changing on top of that, it has a risk of basically going into the like hard way, because which is currently happening. Like one new update with the fundamental models basically change the way that how we think in the technological way. Either it is automation, or it may be the kind of like our common sectors, maybe a finance, legal, HR, tech, operations. We look around that. So I think we have to think more deeper into that as a skill point of view. You can use a tech as an enabler to build your businesses, but don't use a tech to just create a differentiator at the moment of time. That time has gone right now. The technology is basically an IP for you. The technology is basically a differentiator for you. It's not available at the moment of time. What is more available is that how you use the tech to basically distribute to the kind of like end customers. The customers may be a business, or maybe the individuals basically around that, does not matter. But how exactly you create a value out of it, how you basically focus that, okay, if you build something, a model, or maybe a process, or maybe a kind of like UI or an app, how exactly it is driving the value to the end customers. So that is an advantage. If you basically learn that side of the journey, the tech is easy. Utilize that, build that kind of a skills, and launch that in the market and go with the customers. So I would say that skill is very critical. The skill of selling, the skill of design thinking, the skill of basically distribution. So this is very, very critical in the current age. how to use that to build a startups and technologies to go around that. And there are many good nice sectors which was very complicated earlier to use, and to build that is getting basically quite I would say standardized, or maybe basically little bit easy and flexible. For example, like the sector which is especially on the kind of like the infra side, maybe the physical asset, which we basically call it. The physical asset side, the kind of like utilizing of the technology is currently in the nascent stages. There's a huge opportunity to build in that side, right? It may be a road, infra, logistics, or even the health side areas. The more areas into the personalization and more need based, actually, I would say, right? Not more the personalization actually, but more like a need based. That I have a need of only eating, or maybe traveling, or maybe kind of like buying something for one or two particular items, or things. I think the capability is there to design things to focus on that, go in the niche around that, and build something out of it, which you basically create a moat out of it actually. But technology is not a moat. Use the technology to build a moat. I would say the journey is something that we need to look forward.
Thank you, like great insights. Being an entrepreneur, I can absolutely relate with you. That technology is not a moat. I believe it was never a moat. Technology is just a accelerator for you. But as you said, the distribution, understanding of the problem, solving the customer's problem are much more important skill. And down the line, when technology is becoming a commodity, almost everyone can write a agent to run a or build and run a model. The value of technology has even coming down. So that's a great insight. I also make a note of this, and I'm sure our fellow participants today would be interested in some of them would be interested in pursuing such a career and would definitely take a note of it. I would now start my round two. Again, I'll ask questions to each of my panelists. uh, just only one consideration is that in terms of time, we are just a midway. It's and we kind of finish this in time. So we're doing good, I believe. But I still would urge everyone if you can be a little more brief, so that after this round and the rapid fire round, we have some time available for the students to ask some questions. So I go to Rajeshwaran again, and Rajeshwaran, you are one of the most senior person in this team today. Uh, but people also talk about is that age or experience does not matter these days. The skills and maturity matters. But say students who are planning to enter the data science domain, become a data science practitioner now, what would be their career aspiration to become a senior in the league, a sought after person in the league? Is
Yeah.
it the complexity of the technology or the math they know, or their ability to navigate the alignment gap between the business goals and behavior? Earlier, you have already told that the value of the model is actually the value of the business that, I mean, the ROI of the business gets. So, how do you see a senior person can drive those things?
Yeah. So basically, let's just to think about the evolution itself. AI does not mean only LLMs. Okay. Right now, LLMs are the most popular, and we are building everything using some LLM. But AI is not only LLM. Okay. Even now, we have teams in my office in Capgemini where we are building regression models, we are building classification models. If you take, for example, a regulatory area like finance, or if you have to give a credit score, you cannot use LLMs. You have to be able to actually build a model, which basically means that the core skills, the mathematical skills, being able to understand how you can actually build a model, what goes into it, how you evaluate a model. Yes, you can get it to write the code, but being able to select, there are 34 types of regression, being able to select the right one, being able to select the right variables and build models is never going to go away. Okay. Right now, the budgets are in LLM, so there are a lot of tasks that are getting automated, which is fine, but the fundamental skills are always going to have a premium, and probably it will be your differentiator if you spend time learning AI from ground up, where you understand the core concepts. You're able to understand what is regression, how to do mean square, how to do R squared, what it means, where to take it, classification, how these algorithms work. Always there is going to be a premium for that. Okay, so AI is going to only assist you, but it's not going to replace your intelligence. That is something you cannot outsource at all. You should always think in that terms. Okay, so that is core critical. So always remember that just asking chat gpt, anybody can ask. And somebody talked about a moat. If your moat is going to be, I can ask chat gpt, you don't have a moat. That's not what it is, right? That's not what it is. If you're actually able to build a skill, if you're actually able to do learning, and this learning does not happen in a short time, it will take years. And if you're invested in it, and if you have that skill, you will always have a job, and you'll always at a premium, right? Other than just building some chatbot and this and that, where you're actually using an LLM. Yes, even within LLM, if you understand how attention mechanism works, how you can do fine tuning, you need to understand the KVQ layer, basically how you can do fine tuning. All that is actually matrices and mathematics. So the core skills are never going to go away, and probably will be your differentiator if you actually invest your time in that. That's the way I see it.
So, great insights again. Very happy to learn your ideas on this. Let me move to the next panelist with the next questions. This time I go to Arindam, and from a senior, how one can see the senior, but sometimes it's also a question to us, how do I survive in our career? Like the news we get every day, every large company reducing their size, and not many other job openings are coming up. How do you see the 2030 job market would look like? Will it be the super tool era? Like by some people will enjoy the superpower of AI, and they will build many things, while the entry level jobs will be harder to find, or it will just be expected to be much more complex work using these AI tools. Even the freshers would be required to uh, develop more complex work. How do you see the job market in next 3 years?
Sure. Great question, Anshuman. So this is a very valid thing that we need to deliberate on as we move to the next few years, right? So if you see like the how the journey, the progression has been over the period of time when we were freshers, or like when we used to take interviews and all those things. But from now, the level has definitely stepped up. So there is definitely a step up from where things used to be like 4 5 years down the line, and definitely the way things are progressing, you have to level up. So what I really feel on that side is for entry level jobs, or people who are looking to migrate into AI and all these different domains, right? It is very important because the progression has happened, because we have leveled up from where we used to be. Um, if I think from the perspective of someone who's trying to start their career in initial phase, it is very important for you to build things end to end, right? Which we didn't expect people like a decade back or 5 6 years back to do as a fresher, or trying to get build a career in this. So it is very important that you build solutions, products, or applications, anything end to end, because you have everything at your disposal today, right? Like you have so many tools, you have so many agents, you have so much knowledge available online for you to understand, to read, and to figure out, right? So that is where I think the differentiator would be, because everyone will come with that basic background of Python and machine learning and all these things. But the differentiator would be how you have actually built and applications, right? Because if you're starting up, you might not have the experience working at an enterprise, but the expectation might be that are you able to break down a business problem statement into smaller chunks? Are you able to think how you can build an application end to end, how you deploy all these different things are going to be very important. And so I feel it is important for people also to connect to some project. I mean, like connect to things that they would like to work on. Like if you're trying to start on working on a problem statement or a project, try to connect to it. Like it is going to be, if it is going to be something beneficial for you to use and leverage your life or career, that is something that will give you more motivation to build things. And then you have everything at your disposal to enable AI agents, LLMs, models, everything to build that. So I would say it is going to be, the level is definitely going to become more competitive. And for people who are trying to start their career in this, firstly, I take the panelists who have spoken before me. It's a very important part that they've all mentioned is the foundation needs to be very strong. We cannot just jump to LLMs and AIs from day one and think, okay, we'll build everything. It's very important to come through the ranks, have all these basics in place, traditional ML system, recommendations, NLP, deep learning, everything. You have to come through them, and then only you can leverage your acquired skills through LLMs and agents. So yeah, I feel this is a very valid point, but it is critical for people who are starting up to build things end to end, so that when they go for interviews or they talk to people, they know that they have the business acumen, they have the perspective, rather than just knowing some theoretical things. So I feel it's very important to build end to end systems, whether you are starting as a fresher or you're at an entry level. Think on those lines to make your differentiator.
Great insights, Orinder. I really like that one who can build end-to-end solutions, complete solutions, they would be the most sought after. So the students here who wants to build their career in data science surely would make a note of it, that how they become a complete solution developer than focusing only on one or two aspects of the game. Great. I would move to the next questions, which is for Layak, our friend from the entrepreneur fraternity. And he earlier spoken about what skills are required in the age of data science for an entrepreneur. I would now like to ask more specific question. If someone really wants to build a business in data science or AI, how the role would be changing? And this is a personal question also, because I also want to know, like, if someone wants to build something specifically in the area of data science, how that would change and how Gen AI would impact this, uh, the life of a data science founder.
Absolutely, Anshuman. So definitely there is a change, no doubt. So the one thing over here is that like whatever you're trying to build as a part of data science, I mean, normally the thing is that like you use the data science to build a full stack company, basically, which Arindam also said. So example, like I'm basically launching a data science to help the, say example, like HR sector, maybe the legal sector, or maybe the kind of like in a sector of marketing, for example, that I want to use my models or learning, or say example, even I want to create something which is a recommendation, a platform or something I want to give as an API or as a model to somebody. But I think instead of that, the focus has to be that how exactly this basically this particular model of legal or finance or HR basically works as like in company for you. Like you should basically present that, okay, the what I have built, the logics, I have built the models, I have built the kind of like a thinking and thought processes behind it. But I'm not just giving a model to you, which basically connects with the systems and processes. But I'm basically giving you a kind of like a small legal AI company which has the capability of reading your legal documents and giving a specific clauses which you basically need an answer where you spend basically 5 to 6 hours per day, for example. In the similar way, if I'm building in another algorithms or models or data science or the capability behind it in HR, so my suggestion should be that it should be basically the kind of like journey. I'm basically giving you a smart AI recruiter for, say example, you're hiring your operations team specifically for operations team basically. I think this is the way that the things are moving into. While a lot of people are building a open source models, technologies, and it is just evolving like crazy, and it's just going to be more crazy in the next 6 months, 12 months. I mean, the earlier 5 years used to be the timeline, but now it is just moved to 5 months or 6 months actually. The kind of like change which is happening. So my suggestion would be that don't just rely that I'm building this particular model or something will not help us out. Use that model in a practical application, just solving one case that my AI recruiter is best and one of the best to help you hire only the ops team that you want to have it in financial sector. So I think we can narrow it down, but make it that stronger chain. I think it will work fascinating and it will have the outcome and ROI as well.
Thank you. Great insights. Let me move to my next panelist here. And I'll go to GS again. And my question to you is that more career oriented, and we know that everybody of us here has earned some degree in some of the disciplines of engineering or whatever. But what do you think beyond the degree? Like if someone has a degree and some has a knowledge of some Python libraries, is it good enough for them to show it to a recruiter now or maybe in a couple of years? Or how they can establish their expertise which is beyond the degree? How would you position that?
Sure, Anshuman. Thanks. That's a very interesting question, actually, and it is something that impacts all of us, actually. So before into delving into that, first thing that I just want to bring in here, the aspect that we're talking about, two aspects which will impact the skill and the job market. One thing is that current AI applications which you see, for example, the cost of the input token or output token, what we are paying, actually that's not something that looks sustainable in the long run. So you would see the prices going up, shortly or maybe in a year or two. That's one thing possibly we have to look at from the LLM cost optimization. That I think not much has happened in that arena. And second point is I want to bring in the same discussion that AI models are probabilistic in nature. So what Rajeshwar was highlighting, I completely agree with that. Wherever you need a deterministic solutions, for example, for credit scores, because AI models will have throw different results every time. So that still exists, and that domain possibly you will have to go with the classical models. But yeah, coming back to the specific question that we have at this stage, I think as we get evolved to, and we have seen that, so human plus AI, that will be the model. And I was talking about my previous answers as well. Will be the work to model to go forward. So rather than somebody banking on their own Python coding skills, I would say the important skills could be that are you able to debug the code which AI has written? Is that something that you can do it faster? So that could be the anticipation, it could be a differentiator. But even more than that, I think the system thinking would be something that can become very relevant. So as Arindam was also highlighting, that if you have a skills will become more flatter. So while you go vertical in terms of one writing the code, if you are somebody who is more generalist in the sense that you can write code, debug code, actually, which I would say more important, then you will have the business understanding, regulatory side understanding, AI governance as well. I think that gives you a lot of advantage compared to anyone who is solely depending on one particular domain, because we are seeing a lot of chatbots. And again, I just said, human plus AI, that's collaboration has to happen. So it's not, we are not in a situation now, like 2 years ago, somebody would have entirely dispelled saying that, okay, AI is non-existent, not significant for that. That time has gone away. I think we have moved past that. We have to accept that, okay, how do we make them companion to work with us? And second thing, as I said, the domain skills will become critical as much as you can bring in, because I feel at this stage, even if we have a lot of data sets, and I talked about my previous answers, we don't have a specific, domain skills is still embedded into it. A lot of customizations is still possible. So in a way, I can say that those things are becoming extremely vital. That how you are able to leverage those tools that possibly can. So while I can say so here speed is the game changer. Rather than saying that if somebody can write a Python code in 4 hours without taking help from any AI tool, and if someone can actually do that in 30 minutes with the help of all the tools, I think the person who can leverage the tools will be we will be able to get the differentiator or advantage out of it. One region for which is coming from the business side that we have to analyze, that a lot of investment has already gone into. So while the forces are already on play, you saw recently the Anthropic and others, they have launched a service company. So while they have realized the tools itself is not going to be the working fine, they need a service setup for that. But I think that is very, very critical, that you don't really completely dislodge or ignore the tools. Work with them. I think that would be a differentiator. I feel
Right.
so.
Great. When I hear that Anthropic or OpenAI is opening up a services company, I am really very excited about that. The reason is that if they really want to open up a service company, that has to be in India,
Yeah.
because the service company means you need a lot of people, and you get lot of qualified, smart people at scale only in India. Right. You can recruit maybe 2,000, 3,000 folks in a very short span of time in any one of cities of India, and build a services company, which is nowhere in the world is possible. You can't hire so many data scientists, data engineers, say in anywhere in Silicon Valley. They just don't exist. So this is a great opportunity for us, and uh, very positive about this. And thanks for bringing this up. In this note, let me move to my next panelist, who is our guest from the UK, Chiroji. And my question to you is that what you believe is the skill of the future? If you have to choose one skill to master today, either it could be the disciplinary maths or stats analysis, or becoming industry specialist in any of, say, finance or healthcare or something, or the learning to manage the life cycle of an AI like a product manager. What is the skill of the future you believe, or you feel that there could be multiple skills?
Okay. Um, so while the industry domain data can easily, be ingested by different models, but I feel like mastering, like already Arisham said, and I agree with him a lot, mastering the AI product lifecycle, is a universal skill that lets you to pivot into almost any other field. Anyone can build a prototype, in a notebook over like a very short time, but the market heavily rewards those that can scale an idea or a product or a prototype into a secure production ready system with very high uptime, especially now that we have a lot of almost every sector now, I think, is in one way or the other utilizing AI as in some form or in some way. So being able to similar to how we had the previous full stack developer kind of system, if you're able to come up with a very clear system or structure to take AI products from inception down to deployment in a production environment, more like a full-on life cycle, that is going to be a skill that is hardly ever going to go, out of demand, especially now that all of these LLMs are taking place or coming up. Maybe again, say looking at my journey, because in the UK here, I am a recipient of the Global Talent Visa, so via the tech route. So looking at my journey as a Global Talent recipient and a founder of Talent Hacked, so the UK GTV, for example, that route requires applicants to navigate a very, very, I would say, rigorous framework. So they are supposed to prove that they are exceptional talents. So if I only had a domain advice, I'll probably be a consultant, or in some way, like I said, already being able to apply the whole on AI lifecycle from starting to finish, and giving businesses what they want, especially geared towards more B2B deployments as against B2C. So basically, just build products, have a clear idea of how to take product from inception to finish, and obviously make them much more AI available, AI ready. I think that's basically be my own suggestion and my advice.
Thank you, Chiroji. Again, a great insights. Believes that one should know, like, what they are developing, how they are developing the
Yeah.
complete path, what value they are going to provide, and establish that value. That skill is one of the most important skill down the line. This is quite revealing to all of us for sure. I now go to my next and the last panelist for the second round today, Abhishek Chopre. The question is that today we spent a lot of time in uh, kind of a spending time in writing Python code, data clean, etc. But if we know that by 2030, lot of these uh, coding and data cleaning, pipeline building, etc., would be done by AI agents themselves, what would be your real job? This is a kind of a repeat question. The previous question And the previous two questions were in the similar lines, but I want to have Abhishek's viewpoint also on that, like how the job would look like, what the real job would be. Uh, is it like a product manager, as Chiroji has mentioned, or an architect? Uh,
Yep.
how do you see that?
So I think all the jobs are changing simultaneously. So even if you look at product manager job, now you would if some of you follow Lenny's podcast or something like that, you would have seen recently that a lot of Silicon Valley product management jobs, they are saying that you should become a builder now. That instead of explaining through a product requirement document, like Chiroji was just mentioning, you can just prototype it and show what exactly you want the product to look like. And that's something amazing. And those are the kind of shifts that I think will be very relevant to data science also. That instead of just creating a full scale model all the time, you can simulate a lot of stuff, you can showcase a lot of stuff, you can have some mock data, mock simulations before you finalize the complete training and pipeline and all the setup around it. And that setup is going to be simple. As evident from today's discussion, a lot of automation is coming into the foray. The code, I think a lot of it is already automated, and it is going to be increasingly more automated. So where human still plays a role is in envisioning where to apply this and how to apply this in a smart, efficient, and effective way.
Uh, Thank you very much. We have now 20 minutes left, and I will do a quick rapid fire. What I'll do is that I'll ask three questions to each of you, and I will expect very short answers from you. Since Abhishek is here, let's start with Abhishek only. So first question, Abhishek, to you is that what's more important for your 2030 resume? How would your resume look like? Being a data science expert or being an industry expert?
Being an industry expert.
Great. The next question is that if you have to choose only one skill to learn for the next 5 years, what that will be?
Managing agents, AI agents,
Managing agents. Great, great. And the last question too is that what's your one quick advice to all data science aspirants in this room who want to build their career in the next decade?
prototype fast, try iterate as fast as you can.
Okay, great. Let me move to my next panelist, Layak. Like same set of questions. What your 2030 resume would look like, being a data science expert or being an industry expert?
Be industry expert, obviously.
Right, sure. And if you have to one skill to learn, you have an opportunity to learn only one skill today, what that will be?
Design thinking.
Design thinking. Brilliant. And finally, what's your quick advice to the aspirants in the data science field?
I mean, which I've been said earlier, build something that consumer wants.
Build something that consumer wants. Absolutely. Thanks. I go to Chiroji now, our friend from UK. Again, Chiroji, same question.
Yep.
What's more important for you for your 2030 resume? Is a data science expert or an industry expert?
Oh, definitely industry expert, like my senior colleague said. Yeah, industry expert.
I think we're having a consensus again, though I have 50% of the panelists left. And if you have to choose one skill today, what would that be?
The world is going to say AI building, AI agent building, and obviously management.
Yeah, okay, AI agent building and management. Okay, great. I think we heard this answer earlier also. Uh, and one quick advice for the aspiring data science professionals.
As someone who has also been from start to finish, build fast, break fast, and learn how to market your products.
Build fast
Break fast, and learn how
and bring to the market first. Great advice. I move to my next person, GS. GS, what's your one skill or your how do you see your CV for 2030? Is it an industry expert or a data science expert?
And industry expert is something that I feel
I am having a consensus over here. Then, if you have to one skill to learn, what is that skill?
I'm in system thinking and probably for prompt engineering. That like something that should
System
be.
thinking and prompt engineering. And my last question to you, what is your one quick advice to the data science aspirants?
I mean, the think for building scalable solutions.
build scalable solution. Think of how to build scalable solutions. Great. Thank you very much. I move to my next panelist, Arindam. Arindam, same questions to you. What would your CV would look like in 2030? A data science expert or an industry expert?
I would take some clue from my previous panelists here. I would say industry expert, but with a good data science background.
Very good. An industry expert who has a strong background in data science. Great. And if you have to learn only one skill today, have an opportunity to learn one skill today, what would that be?
Learn to build scalable architecture that is of great value.
Learn to build scalable architecture and how to build value. Great. And finally, what is your advice to the aspiring data scientist?
Yeah, I'll take some clue from my previous panelists. So you have to build end-to-end system, fail fast, and figure out what is the business market fit. So figure out that part.
Okay, how a product fits the market.
Right.
Great. And I move to my last but most mature panelist over here, Rajashekaran. Same questions. How would your 2030 resume would look like? A data science expert or an industry expert?
Data science, because to become an industrial expert, let's say you want to do banking, you have to actually work in bank. Okay, otherwise it's only an illusion that you think you understand banking. Okay, so any domain expertise, you can't become a doctor by sitting outside. You have to become a doctor. So, like that, I believe that for engineers who are mostly people who are aspiring to get into IT field, I think it's better that you do what you're good at, and then you can get complementary with some domain experts. Trying to become a doctor, trying to become a banker or something like that, I think the barrier to entry is too high.
So finally, we got a different perspective, but equally important, equally interesting. Thank you very much, Rajashekaran, for that. And now my question to you is that if you have one skill to learn today, what would that skill be?
But to me, it's going to be core math. You really have to understand the underlying how these things work, and that will be the differentiator. Just getting some cloud skill or some certification is not going to help you. It may help you today, but it won't help you in the long run because the barrier to entry is very low.
Very nice and important perspective from a person like you. And I also kind of tend to believe towards that building a deep math skill, especially when we see that newer types of models are coming, like the the decoder encoders, the transformers, all these are coming. I think it is time for us to brush up our math skills. We have learned our logistic regression and all those basic statistics or advanced statistics during our time. We built our career on that, but now the newer set of models have come with the newer theories. So it's time definitely to go deeper into that. Thank you very much. I really concur that with you. And what is your advice to the people who want to build their career in data science?
Yeah, again, as I said, get into the fundamentals because you'll have enough competition of people who can do, AI, Python. There'll be no differentiator. Okay, everybody can do that, and you should do that. I'm not saying no, but I'm saying that is not going to be a differentiator. If you really spend time on the core, you will be able to differentiate yourself. That's what
Great,
I would say.
very nice perspective. Finally, we have some difference of opinion. Otherwise, it is becoming very biased, and I was also not very comfortable having everyone answering the same. And not only that, your answer were different, but you also brought in the perspective why you are differing from the others. Thank you very much, and thanks to everyone who contributed today in this discussion and came up with very thoughtful answers. Uh, I really appreciate your contributions and time today. Thank you very much. Do we have questions from the audience? Then we have time. We have about 10-12 minutes of time. There is one questions from Guru Murthy Natarajan, and I open up these questions to the panelists. Anyone can pick up an answer, and we can take more than one answer too. Is that what industries do you believe will experience the highest AI disruption in 2030? Let's make it a rapid fire. Let me ask this question to every one of you. Which industry you expect to be most disrupted by 2030 using AI? So since Rajshekaran is here, I'll hear from him and then I'll go back to the rest of the folks.
Yeah, finance industry, because invariably they invest heavily on IT, and they really care about moving fast. So finance industry will be the most disrupted.
Great. GS, what is your idea on this?
I think financial services and healthcare, because I mean, a lot of things have to be done in the healthcare still remaining. So I think these two areas can get disrupted.
Like, you are an entrepreneur, you have seen
Infra-
businesses.
Physical asset intelligence like infrastructure and healthcare.
Infrastructure and healthcare, very important. Thank you very much. I go to Chiroji now. Chiroji, what industry do you think would be impacted the highest by AI by 2030?
By 2030, I would say healthcare is definitely top three right there. Healthcare, finance. Energy
Healthcare, and
doesn't
lot
get
of money is being poured in over there for good reasons. Thank you. Orindam, what is your take on that?
Yeah, I feel life sciences and pharma, there are a lot of open problems still to be solved there. So that is one area of disruption I can see.
Okay, life sciences and pharma, I also believe is good for the mankind. And finally, we have Abhishek. Abhishek, what's your take on which industry would be most disrupted by the AI?
I think tech and marketing,
Take and marketing, very a different take, but something to ponder over. I
because it's
also
the
believe that
industry that has most adoption of technology and most verifiable processes, which is a very good space for Gen AI to discuss.
okay, great. Any other questions from anyone? This was a great questions, I must say. One questions from I got is that how do companies evaluate whether an AI solution is actually delivering business value? Like, you brought this up, so why don't you take a stab and answer this, that how companies can evaluate whether their AI solutions are bringing value to the business?
No, it is simple actually. The three parameters, primarily the cost, efficiency, and productivity, they are basically looking at whether it's actually valuing in my cost, whether it is helping in productivity in various areas, like it may be in people productivity, in maybe the output productivity, and lastly is the efficiency. I think it will if the result is coming, it is definitely adding value.
Okay. Can I ask the same question to GS also? GS, what is your take that how do companies evaluate whether an AI solution is actually delivering business value to the organization?
Yeah. So I agree with Layak, and actually I have done it in my solutions. Many of my solutions have gone from pilot to production. So 3 pointers we are taking: the cost reduction, the revenue increment, and third part for us is also compliance. That some
Compliance.
cases,
Okay.
if you can do better in compliance, I think that is actually delivering output for you.
Okay. Of course, person from KPMG would definitely talk about audit and compliance. We're not very surprised, but thank you very much for bringing this perspective. Do you have any other question? Okay, I don't see any more questions, so I take it that we have. Okay, one more question. As AI systems begin making decisions autonomously, where should organizations draw the line between human judgment and machine intelligence? Very, very important questions. We talk about this human in the loop, and this maybe I don't know whether the question is directed to that, but I would suggest Rajshekaran to take this up first.
Yeah, uh, see, that is a very important issue as well, right? Uh, because if you look at any security thing right now, we have user-based security that we give. But if you give, let's say, for example, if you give a complete control of your phone, it could be sending WhatsApp that you don't want it to send. Okay, so like that. So there is going to be a huge implication in terms of the liability of the AI. If I build a system and put it in my customer, and if it is, let's say, eating up all tokens, I've had customers where we put a AI system, and just on the testing alone, the complete budget was lost because they put 500 documents into the AI to see whether it works or not, and it completely blew up the budget. So who will take liability for those kind of things? It's just not about the money; it's about the actions it takes. So this is a very gray area because we don't know who's going to take liability on this, and it's something that we need to seriously consider.
Okay, can I ask the same question to Abhishek? As AI systems begin making decisions autonomously, where to draw the line between the human machine intelligence and human action or human judgment? How do you draw these lines?
Yeah, I think more and more that is going to get blurred. It has to be a very strong model of interference where human in loop is absolutely required. I think there are some instances of that are mentioned in EU Act, that wherever there is a certain degree of risk and they have defined a risk in a very broad term, where it says that it has to be a human in the loop. But also on the other end, I genuinely believe that these systems are becoming very, very reliable. The accuracy is coming to a very reliable path. If we look at the latest models like 4.7 with adaptive intelligence, it will counter its own thinking that okay, maybe this can be too risky, let me ask the question to the user. So I think the companies are also taking right steps in ensuring that this autonomous thing is paired beautifully with human intelligence and not completely running parallel to it.
Maybe
Hmm.
I can add to what Abhishek said. So we have built
Please.
systems and we have faced the challenge. Actually, this question came up. So what we did, we built a confidence score. So now, if you are very, very assertive and you believe it, it's fine. Keep the confidence score as high. But if you are somebody who is like looking into and very high risk areas, keep the confidence score as very low. Wherever your confidence score is low, automatically agent the fallback strategy, the human in loop comes into picture. The human, it comes to them to take a decision. But when confidence score is high, and that the agent will learn based on the feedback loop that we are running and that agent training. So that depends. That's still subjective, but I'm saying this is one way we can build it up.
Sure. And yeah, I think that's very good. So we have heard our panelists speak at length and breadth about many aspects of data science and AI. How would this shape our careers in the coming years and decades? I have been highly enriched by the insights that has been spoken by all the six panelists, and we have differentiated views, which is good for such a discussion. I'm sure all the participants over here has been immensely benefited. So my heartfelt thanks again to each of you. And with this, I hand it over to the Eduinx team to conclude the session today. And my thanks again to all the participants who have spent their Saturday afternoon with us. Thank you.
I would like to thank everyone for this wonderful session. Thank you, everyone, for joining the session and make it a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Thanks everyone.